Hi, I'm here with Ryan Clark, who's the Director of Tennis for the Odlum Brown Vancouver Tennis Open, one of the most successful challenger tour stops in the world, and just a fantastic tournament that every single player, without exception, absolutely loves coming to. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to grab a few minutes with me. But can you just give people a little bit more about your background and you know your role here and some of the other work that you do in sport?
Sure. Well, myself and company, our company works with multiple sports right now. A lot with football and soccer in North America, as you'd say, but with plenty of other sports, your ice sports and a lot of your other field sports. But as far as tennis is concerned, this is the 14th year of this event. I've been the tournament director for 13 of those 14 years. I got started here my first year, not necessarily as a tournament director, but I was hired on by IMG to bring partner for Maria Sharapova. And when her and her dad came in town, I knew her agent really well, and he asked if I could look after them and make sure that they're, they get everything they need when they're in Vancouver, and had a great experience with them. And from there, the tournament, because I'd been around, they asked me if I would stay on and be tournament director. After seeing it, I said, okay, I think I got a vision for where it can go. And myself and the chairman and underwriter of the tournament, Floyd Hill, we got together and kind of powwowed as to maybe where we could go with this. And it started out as a $25,000 event, and now we're at $200,000 and the world's largest challenger. So it's been an exciting growth over the years. And who would have thought year 14?
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic to be here, and of course the setting of the country club here at Hollyburn is just amazing. I mean, it's got to be one of the best settings in the world. I think the only one that kind of compares is Monte Carlo.
Sure, we'll give Monte Carlo a chance. Yeah, they're more expensive though.
Yeah, I mean, you're clearly in great shape yourself, and I think you understand, creating an edge in sport. Did you, in all of your work and also in being an athlete, always link the physical to the mental side?
I did directly, and where I got it from. I grew up obviously a little more old school in the sense that before a lot of the ways to really wire yourself, as in locker room power does, is I put it in that if I worked extremely hard on the court, that the mental will just come and be there, because you'll have worked so hard that you'll just be tougher that way. But that's kind of a very easy mentality, and that doesn't quite do it. As you said, you need these other wirings to help yourself get ready, and that's where a book like Locker Room Power can really help you out, because it can get you that head start. So because it's one thing just to be an incredibly hard worker whether you're out on court, but you need all the other things as well, the other intangibles, so that you know where you're directed and you can keep your energy focused in the right way.
Is there any particular message that you got from the book that you found helpful in your just general life, never mind in helping athletes?
What became really apparent, I guess, for anybody who gives it a really good read, is right off the bat in the first couple paragraphs, it really states to not overestimate your opponent or your work situation or your environment. As it says, the things can be won or lost before you even walk out onto the court or to the field or wherever. And from our standpoint, I think what you saw in this was that whole thing of having you sometimes you overestimate your opponent, you put yourself at a disadvantage, and whether that's in work, if you suddenly think that the work is too big or too monumental a task, you can put yourself in a bad wiring or a bad frame right off the bat. And I think that part is a message that can be brought not just to elite athletes, but even to your young athletes that are just coming up, 9, 10, 11, 12. Don't overestimate your opponent. A lot of young athletes, when they get going, they hear things about, I heard this player, this team were really great, and they're amazing, and they literally just talk themselves out of winning, right off the bat. They've already talked themselves into a compromising result. And I think that's apparent right off the bat, is to get yourself into that frame of, call it being task oriented or focused on the process, and get your head off of who your opponent is, because then your energy is focused on the wrong place.
That's thanks for bringing that up, and I think it is very true. I often said to players that I work with, don't on the pro tour, don't play the guy that you see on TV, because often when you watch them on TV, it's already the semis or the finals, and the guys are really hot. Often you catch players on an average day, they're not the same player.
Yeah, no one plays great on every day.
Yeah, and so, see what comes in front of you on the day. And, I think also, players will socialize and be around other players and realize actually they're very, very human and have the same problems and issues as anybody else. So, I mean, did you find, as you got more experience and everything like that, that really, that maybe if you'd known some of this a little bit earlier, it would have helped?
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up playing multiple sports. I didn't grow up as much. I went out and played on as much as I could on the circuit and tour as I could, and went as long as I could, and even in collegiate tennis in the U.S. But I grew up playing multiple sports, and then you kind of show up and hear, you hear people, oh, I heard this guy's really good, this guy's a great player, and that can get to you if you're not wired right in the bat. And once you got out there, you suddenly found, they're not that good, but sometimes you're too late. Like, you kind of think that after the match, going, gosh, why did I talk myself into thinking this player was that great? When, a lot of times, as you said, they'll have an average day, and if you can be on a hot day, you can take out any player.
And last question for you. How important do you think it is to focus on your weapons or your unique selling point, the things that you do well, rather than always trying to fix the things that you don't do so well?
Yeah, exactly. You might as well have your weapons sharp. I mean, if you can be sitting there trying to fix up all your weaknesses, and there is obviously something to that, but at one point you got to know what your strengths are and go into it. If you're sitting there constantly just trying to tweak your weaknesses, you might not have your strengths ready to go. Your strengths is what's going to win you your matches, at the end of the day. And if you can, it also simplifies things. If you know that you're focused on your strengths and your strengths are sharp, then it really cuts through a lot of the noise of it can really simplify your game plan. If you go in going, I know I am good at A, B, and C, and these are the three things that I know that I can execute really well on, and I'm just going to focus on those. It really allows your mind to be focused rather than going, okay, I'm going to try to avoid this situation and work with these weaknesses, but then while at the same time, that can complicate a process. So it's better if you can keep that really simplistic mindset going into anything, whether that be a presentation, whether that be in a team sport. One of the things I work a lot with athletes that are just moving into professional soccer here, and one of the things, even when I hear game plans, I like to hear a coach when he's directing the team to give them one or two very simple plans. It's not a complicated plan. This is one or two things we're trying to do out there, and we're all going to stick to that.
Great. So if people want to see a little bit more and find out a bit more about the work that you do and your company does, where can they find you?
You can go to gamechangersports.ca.
Okay, fantastic. And what would you say that the main attributes of, as I was saying, what would you say are the main attributes of your company and the things that you focus on as a company most of all?
Service, without a question. We work extremely hard, keep prices reasonable for our clients, but it's service. We're hands-on. We're not just big picture. We don't come in there and just say this is the big picture and then walk away and leave them. We work. When we're at events or we're running programs for our clients, we're there start to finish, day and night. And I think that's the thing they can always rely on, and for us. And I think that's the thing they really enjoy. We're not afraid to get our hands dirty, whether it's being even, a lot of times, just a lot of the big events we work with, we're right there during setup the whole time. And if we have to, we roll up our hands and help set up the whole time. We're not just sitting there kind of saying, here's something, here's a worksheet, you guys go deliver it. We're hands-on for everything we do.
Are most of your events repeating annually, or do you do quite a few one-off events as well?
Mostly repeating, and I think that's because of the success they've had. If things go really well, people tend to want to keep you around, and so I think that's the biggest thing. Most everything we've done is going into either whether it's the second decade or past 5 years. Most everything we've done has been long term, and we've been fortunate with all the events and programs and groups that we work with. All seems to be long term, which is really nice.
Well, it's a fantastic compliment to you guys, and certainly this tournament is going from strength to strength, and I always enjoy coming back here, and I think it's testament to all the work that goes on behind the scenes that this event keeps growing, and who knows, one day it might even be a tour event.
We'll see. We really like what we do right now here. This is a pretty nice scenario. I think if you move this to a tour event, you lose this club, or you have to ditch the men or the women. You have to ditch one or the other, and I don't know if we want to do that.
That's a very good point, and it's kind of a niche market because there's not many challenges of this size. I mean, yours is the biggest. I don't know of too many $100,000 challenges, so it is a good niche market. So.
Yeah, we like where we sit, and I think it allows us to have the whole nice ambiance, and it allows us to have a real interaction and interplay with the members, the club, the community, and you can do a lot of things versus moving into call it a more functional stadium scenario, but doesn't have the same connection to community and same club. You don't have all the back of house stuff. It becomes very back and forth to the hotel. Yeah.
I would hate to lose my glass of wine on that fantastic balcony.
Exactly.
So keep it where it is.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to keep it where it is. I think we're at the right place right now, and we can just continue to add fun aspects to the event and make it more fun for players.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye. Hi everybody, I'm here at the Odlum Brown Van Open, the tennis tournament in Vancouver, the biggest challenger in the world. I'm here with Lonnie, who's in charge of the transport, and there it is, the phone ringing again for some transport.
Sorry about that.
It's fine, having taken care of that phone call very efficiently. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough job, especially at the beginning of the week when there's so many players and there's so much demand for transport.
That's right.
How many drivers and cars approximately are you running here?
I have 9 vehicles and approximately 3 vans that I use for large shuttles. I could get more people from one place to another place, so that's what I'm using right now. And I have approximately about 30 drivers that are on a schedule, not at all once, of course, but they're scheduled throughout the week. So my job is recruiting those drivers and getting their schedules, and they're all volunteers. So they volunteer their time to come here and transport players and officials and coaches around to their accommodations, and from the waterfront station, which is our train station in Vancouver, to wherever they're staying, either a hotel or a resident that is billeting them. So that's basically what we do here, and it's a bit of a juggling match.
And how many years have you been doing this for?
This is my first year of actually running the transportation department here for the tournament.
And how have you found it?
It's been a long sort of 3 weeks because there's all the pre-planning stages to it, and since the tournament began, I've been putting in about 17 to 18 hour days.
Wow, that's pretty hefty.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of tired right now.
Yeah, 2 days to go.
Yeah, just 2 more days. It begins to sort of get less and less demanding as the tournament goes on, because as players become eliminated, they're off to other tournaments. So I don't have as many requests to deal with. So it does become a little bit less taxing on my drivers and for my schedule.
So what do you find the coolest part of your job?
Basically, meeting my drivers, because some of them I've never met before or worked with before, and hearing their stories, meeting all the various players. I'm not a tennis person, so I'm meeting some very interesting and very special athletes, and they've been very kind and very giving. And
most of the time.
Most of the time. No, actually, everyone that has come and seen me or put in a request have been they've been just great and very understanding if I'm maybe 5 minutes late or, I may have made a boo-boo somewhere. But all in all, it's been pretty good. Not only do I handle just players' requests, but there's also sponsors I have to take care of, and any corporate VIPs. Okay. So handling their transportation needs too. So we have special days where we have various promotions, so I have to handle those transportation requests too. So,
do you think you're going to do it again?
They have to ask me really nicely, I think. It's been actually a really excellent learning program for me. I do events normally, and this is just another aspect of events that I've learned about. So logistically, it's something different that I've never done before. I do find it very interesting to do. We'll see. I mean, if they want me back again, maybe I might say yes. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, the long hours, is that the
Yeah, it would be
uncoolest
nice.
part?
It would be nice if I had an assistant, but I'm on my own. So, if that were the case, then yeah, definitely I would think about definitely coming back and helping out for next year, just to come and see the play. You know, I can't even watch matches. That's fine because I have to stay here at headquarters. But just to meet the players is really special.
Great. Well, I hope to see you next year again.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, and good luck with everything. And I must say, you did do a fine job, even though my girls were a little difficult last night. No, they weren't difficult. They just planned it poorly.
No, they're great. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone, we try to accommodate whenever we can, but everyone has been just amazing, just really great. It's been a really fun tournament to do, actually. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time. I certainly appreciate it.
Hey, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, you take care. You
Thank
too.
you. Bye.
Bye.
I'm here with Mark Blundell, sitting in the car on our way to the airport. He's one of the drivers for the Australian Open, and I'm going to ask him a few questions about his job and how he got into it. So, Mark, thanks for doing this, and just let the listeners know how you actually got into the job of driving.
Well, I actually just saw it advertised on the internet. I've always been interested in sport and worked in sport for many years, but had a change of career as a teacher and had a break in the summertime, and thought, oh, that would be interesting working at the tennis during my summer break, and I enjoy driving and enjoy meeting people, so I thought that would be a good thing to do. So I went through the application process and was fortunate enough to be offered a position with Australian Open. So.
And how many years have you been doing this for now?
This is my 4th year, so relative to other people, I'm only a baby because they do it for 20, 30 years, but yeah, it's a really good job, and once you're in, most people continue on each year, become an annual thing for them.
So naturally you enjoy it. Can you relate if there's been some real humorous incidents or strange things that have ever happened to you as a driver?
There's always lots of things. You find things under seats, or people's surnames or names that get misinterpreted, and be quite humorous. As for funny things, you know, drivers tell other funny stories and things, but as you appreciate, we can't really mention names or certain specific incidences.
That's naturally understandable. What is your favorite part of the job? You know, obviously, you know, meeting people, but is there anything else that really grabs you about the job?
I really enjoy driving, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's meeting the people and just finding out their backgrounds and finding out where they come from, and why they're interested in tennis or why they participate, and asking stories about travel and living from other countries and cultures, and just the lifestyle of being a professional tennis person and what's involved, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
So do most of the players and coaches engage with you in the car, or are mostly they engage with their phones and social media and stuff? I mean, have you found over the last few years that the engagement has gotten less, or is it about the same?
Good question. Yeah, no, I've found that with Wi-Fi in the car and phones that people, first thing they do is jump on their phones. So some people love to chat, some people don't. That just goes part with the parcel. You work with the job, You work out if people want to talk, want to engage, and if they do, great. If they don't, well, we respect that and let them do what they do. It also depends on where they are at the tournament, and you can tell if someone hasn't had a good day and they've lost, they don't want to chat to the driver. If they're on the way to the match, you appreciate they probably don't want to talk to the driver, but other times, people are quite willing to have a chat and get engaged and get to know you and find out some questions about them as well.
And I assume the hours are quite long. How long is a shift? And I realize that some of the hours can be probably a bit unsociable, but I guess that's just part and parcel of the job.
It is. Shifts go for 6 hours, so it's broken up into sort of 3 sections: the early morning, the afternoon, and then the evening. So, the night times can be a long day. You might finish anywhere between 1 and 3 o'clock, but normally you work no more than about 6 or 7 hours. So, it's quite good, especially if you get a morning or afternoon. You still get the day, do your other things. So,
do you get to watch quite a bit of tennis in between?
You could if you wanted to, I guess. If you had a nighttime shift, you could come in and watch tennis in the afternoon, or if you finished at lunchtime, you can stay around and watch the tennis. But I find I've got other things and family commitments to get to, so probably don't get to watch as much as I would like to.
Thanks so much for your time, and I hope to see you for many years to come.
Pleasure, thank you. Same, likewise.
Rico, fabulous to have you here. Thank you very much for having this chat with me. And I know, as always, talking to you will be extremely interesting.
Thank you, Dave. It's always nice to be part of anything that can help us promote our game of tennis, which is definitely one of the leading sports in the world. And I guess we're all small ambassadors in our own ways to help our game become a better place for people to watch and, of course, raise the levels of the sport.
Now, I'm here with you in Chennai, where you've got a TV role, commentating, pundit, and people often think that that's an extremely easy job. But I know that the hours are extremely long, and you can finish at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And of course, you also have to do the research and background into knowing all the players that you're talking about.
Yeah, first of all, it's not an easy job. Let's get that out of the way first. It is a tough job. Like you said, there's a lot of research that goes in to study all the players playing on that day on the center court, if you're covering the center court, as we do in Chennai. And besides that, yes, the long hours are there, but when you're involved with an event of this nature, you tend to enjoy doing what you're doing because you get to watch such fabulous tennis up close from the commentary box. And to be working with people like Vijay Amritraj and Anand Amritraj, who are absolute legends in the game, and their perspective and their views on how tennis is being played right now and how the players are playing on the court is a great learning experience for someone like me as well.
Great, and you've been around like I have for a long, long time, but it's amazing how you can always learn and continue to learn because the game evolves all the time.
Yes, Dave, you're absolutely correct on that.
So, if there was one thing in tennis that you could change, what would that be?
Well, to be very honest with you, I was always a very pro-activist where coaching was concerned. And I felt coaches do their role and they do it. And I know the reasons why the ATP don't promote coaches to be able to, players to be coached during matches. But I tend not to agree with that. I think the coaches and are very much parcel of every tennis player's traveling on to Raj today. And I think they should get a bigger role. I think maybe at a change of a set, they should be able to refer to their coaches and discuss with them what they've done, maybe change it around. I think the level of the game will improve if we can let something like that into the sport.
So on the women's tour, obviously they do have that. I know from personal experience, having gone onto the court with a player who lost the set very, very badly and had totally lost her way. And I know, categorically that I was able to change her mindset. And that match changed. So it definitely, the two sides, obviously, of the argument is tennis is you need to figure it out for yourself. But I do agree with you that when a player has lost their way in a match, that a couple of wise words can actually pull them back, and which makes it a better spectacle for the spectators.
Oh, absolutely, David. They've tried it on the WTA. I don't know how successful it's been because I don't travel that much anymore. But the fact remains is I believe that in today's game, it's so competitive. It's the standard of the games in both men and women are so high. The depth of the participants are so deep. I think you need every possible opportunity to be able to give your best when you're out on the court. And I see no reason why a coach can't be part and parcel of that. And I really believe that if we could, in the men's game, at least allow a coach to spend maybe a change of a set, not all the time. Don't disrupt play. This you get a 60-second chat with your player. I think there's no harm in that, and I think it'll only help raise the standard of the sport.
Yeah, well, I have mixed feelings about it still, but I certainly think it'd be worth a try at some of the 250 events and see how it goes. A pilot scheme would probably be a very, very good idea, and see how it all fits together.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're not going to take away the individuality of the player. At the end of the day, he still has to go and hit that forehand at 30-40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going to change it that way. But at least you can help him if he's mentally down. Give him some advice on how he could get himself back into a match. And if he's winning already, to keep the same formula that he's been following. And I don't think it's, coaching is not rocket science.
No.
But I think it'll add something to our sport. That's why I believe we should encourage the fact that we should allow this.
And do you agree that the coaches should be mic'd up? Because that's the one thing that makes me uncomfortable, actually, because you're...
No, I think it's a very personal thing between coach and player.
Yeah,
and I don't think the mic definitely not. Everyone doesn't need to know what you're discussing with your player.
Yes, and that's the one thing that makes me uncomfortable on the women's tour, is that they do mic up the coaches. And you don't want the opponent hearing what you're saying either.
That's right. That makes no sense. I would believe, but then it takes away the whole fact of what you're trying to explain to your trainee, whether it may be man or woman.
Correct. If there was a positive change you could make into tennis, obviously, if coaching would be one of them, is there anything else that you would like to see happen in tennis?
Well, first of all, I think the big game changer has been Hawkeye.
Yes.
And Hawkeye, as a commentator, I've been doing a few events in Asia. I've seen the sort of interest that Hawkeye generates, not amongst the players, because the players feel pretty safe that if they're playing in a country where it's a third world country or something, they feel they're not comfortable with the linesman or the calls that they're getting. Like I remember you and I, when we played, there were times when we go ballistic with the officials.
Yes.
What has happened with Hawkeye, I think, is the fact that Hawkeye now has given the players a sense of security. And the fact remains that they can always turn to it, and technology is never wrong, and you can't even question technology, which is a good thing. But I think Hawkeye has been a big game changer, and I believe that we should, hopefully, the technology of Hawkeye's pricing will come down as it gets more and more popular. Cost to have it at smaller events would be a lot less. I think Hawkeye would play a very big role even at a challenger level, for example, to give the players that sort of confidence that when they're out there playing big matches, at least they have the protection of not getting a bad call.
I agree with you 100%, and I think there's nothing worse in sport where a player, loses maybe a title or something like that through a referee or umpire's decision, and it's all very well saying it evens out in the end, but a really bad call at 6-5 and a tiebreaker, the match is over. That's that. Timing is a big part of that.
Yeah, you and I have experienced that.
Yes.
We've played tennis at a certain level. Now, maybe not at the highest level, but the fact remains that even, like you said, a small thing like this can change a whole perspective to a kid wanting to play and go on. Maybe he gets quite disappointed that, when you play at the lower levels, you don't get the sort of calls you get and stuff like that, and you get sort of disappointed. So I think Hawkeye has been an amazing invention for tennis. I see the excitement. Forget the players.
Yeah.
Look at the crowd, how they get into Hawkeye. You got the slams when you're watching, and the crowd gets so much behind it. And Hawkeye has become a very, very big part of tennis. And that's what I said. I hope in the future I'll see a lot more of Hawkeye around the tennis world.
So tell me a little bit about your trust, and you're still working with young players and trying to get Indian tennis in an even better place than it is. Because certainly I've seen more and more players emerging from India, especially in the doubles arena. But there's definitely a greater depth of Indian tennis players, and obviously you're trying to contribute to that.
That's right, Dave. I started what we call the Enrico Piperno Tennis Trust, and I felt it was time for me to give back a little bit to my sport. As you are aware, I played tennis up to a certain level. Then I worked with Leander I was Davis Cup coach for 10 years. I then traveled with Mahesh for 8. And after that, I sort of helped the Fed Cup team out. I helped Sania Mirza with her career. And then I felt that it was time for me to start, giving back. And what I wanted to do was to try and find kids, underprivileged kids, unable to support themselves playing tennis. So I went around to a few junior tournaments. I picked up 4 or 5 kids from there. I relocated them to my hometown of Calcutta. And in Calcutta, we've set up what we call the trust, where we raise money for our kids to play tennis. And I can proudly tell you that I've got 2 kids already in the top 5 in the nation. So it's been a great achievement. It's been very successful. I've been running it since 2012. And what I do is I go around with a begging bowl to all the corporates, asking them for funds to support what I'm trying to do. And it's been a great success so far. And from the point of view of Indian tennis, yes, Dave, our depth is there. The standard has been raised for sure. But the fact remains, it's all been done on a very private level. Unfortunately, the association, the government don't do enough. And I believe that is the time we need the government now to step in to make sure these associations in India are accountable for what they do. For example, through my trust, I also run a commercial program in Calcutta where I try and help kids play tennis. And we also have what we call the Bengal Tennis Association, which is the association of the area. I would imagine that I would have my kids at 13 or 14 going to the Bengal Tennis Association, because after a certain age, as a trust, I find it very difficult to support them. But it's the other way around. Kids are coming back to me all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's absolutely no support systems in place by the associations. And I really believe that people sitting out there holding these positions in these associations need to get their act in order, because there's so much talent out there in India. Urban India today is teeming with young kids playing the game.
Yeah.
It is very, very popular. As urban India, their economic level grows. I'm sure you've been in India many times,
yeah.
and you see the cities, how big they've become and how people are earning much better than they do. They can afford to play the game.
Yeah.
And so we got so many kids out there playing tennis. So if we can get these things put into place, I'm sure we'll have singles players, because that's what we really need. We need a couple of guys to be playing in the top 50.
Yeah,
That will drive the sport.
Yes, I think most countries have issues with their federations, and I think it is time for most federations to modernize and actually start to listen to people like yourself that are out there on the coalface, who know exactly what is going on, and just bring a few key people together in a room and discuss a way forward. I think the important thing is to have these discussions rather than not, because there's a lot of talented individuals, and I'm not talking about tennis players, I'm talking about coaches involved in the sport who do know what's going on and deserve a voice in how the game is taken forward. So
yes, I would believe that vision is lacking. There's a certain vision that you and I, and probably people who've been on the tour enough, realize that this is what needs to be done next and what follows that, and what's the sort of funding that's required. Unfortunately, that vision is lacking in the associations. They don't seem to understand that there's a step-by-step process to produce international athletes.
So would you take the job if they gave it to you?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Dave, because I'm doing a lot of things right now. I've come to a stage in my life where, besides mentoring these kids and helping them with their coaching and stuff like that, I'm also involved with many other things. I joined the government of India. I serve on the Social and Economic Welfare Board of India. I'm also passionate about horse racing, so I'm a steward of the club. So we run horse racing in Calcutta. So there are a lot of things I'm involved with. So I'm not very sure I would want to take on a very serious responsibility like that.
Well, Rico, thank you very much for your time. I know you're off to the stadium just like I am for a lot more tennis this evening. But I really appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best of luck with your trust, and I think it's a fabulous thing you're doing, and I'm sure not whether these kids make the big time in tennis or not, you will certainly change their lives for the better.
Yes, Dave, absolutely. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure seeing you after all these years, buddy. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks.